YouTube.
Oh, no voice?
Not getting any sound. Are they hearing it? Talk, just talk.
Just talk? Yeah. Okay, so can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Their voice.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear anything.
No.
Just talk, yeah. Okay.
Just talk. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So I can only hear on the YouTube, but not on the phone. I can only hear on the phone and not the YouTube. That's so bizarre.
Oh, that is bizarre.
Yeah.
Just on, you can just hear it on the YouTube, but not on the phone.
That's fine, they won't hear it on the phone because you've got it muted. So
But
we
one
should
could
just-
only hear it apparently even when this was muted. She said she could only hear it on the phone and not
That's
YouTube.
something to do with.
You can just hear it on the YouTube, but not on the phone.
Okay. So I think the phone should be muted, so you should only be hearing me on YouTube, I believe.
But they can hear her back at the station. That's most important.
Oh, that's a lot of feedback.
So I think the phone should be muted, so you should only be hearing me on YouTube, I believe.
It's quite delayed.
I mean, they're getting feedback now.
Yeah, that's...
There's got to be something on there.
Yeah.
I'm muting. Currently, are you muting? Yes, I'm muting my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Feedback is gone. They're both muted. Okay, let's try again.
Try again?
Yep.
Okay. In 2019, the Edmonton Police Service had 17 individuals come forward to report on immigration scams. Of those 17 individuals, 16 lost just over $730,000. The type of victims that we're seeing that are coming forward are individuals who have immigrated to Canada and have Canadian citizenship. They're in the process of going through their citizenship, or they're just here on a work visa or on a student visa. So there's a lot of different demographics that we're seeing for sure. A lot of the phone scams relate to they're going to arrest you, they're going to deport you, so that urgency to stay in the country is one of the key things that allows them to become victims of this scam. And contact is typically through the phone. So when we look at the average call, one lady had an individual call and they had spoofed her husband's phone number. The other one said that they were the Chinese embassy and they were calling. And they also provide documents with legitimate seals on them to show that perhaps they are documents from the government in China. So there's that believability for them to agree to the scam and to actually send the money. So we'll see if there's any questions.
Okay, Carly with the city news. You can go ahead and ask your questions.
Yeah. So I had a question first about COVID scams. I've seen on Instagram people saying that they have test strips and things like that for COVID. Do these constitute as scams, or are these something EPS is keeping an eye on? And what other types of scams around COVID are we seeing right now?
So none of those types of scams have been reported to the Edmonton Police Service, so I don't have any knowledge of any victims falling to that. Alberta Health Services definitely could answer to that more than I could, but it is my understanding that it's a time delay of a day or two for you to get the results back. So I don't know if an instantaneous strip can do that for you, but again, Alberta Health Services is your best bet for that, sir. The other COVID scams that we are seeing, two of them evolved this week. We had an individual come to us to report that they received a phone call. And most of these scams do come through the phone and are intricately woven into other scams. So one of the gentlemen that did give us a call had said that he had received a phone call that he had won a prize, and it was a 6-year shopping raffle. So he declined that, said he wasn't interested, hung up the phone. And you have to understand that scammers are very persistent when it comes to the scams, because this is how they get their money. So, and it can be very lucrative for them, unfortunately. So they phoned back 2 hours later, and when they talked to the gentleman again, they upped the ante. So they want to profile you. They want to find something that you will actually fall for and something that you'll give your money for. So this time they told him that it was for a car as well as money. They asked him to send $2,500 so that he could put his registration fee to get the money and to give his bank account details so they could deposit the money. So then they call back saying, you know what, your account's frozen, I can't get your money, so we need you to find another way to give them the money. And one of the things that we're seeing from the financial institutions is they are more diligent, they're seeing what's happening, and they are freezing the bank accounts. So what they did is they told him, go get a line of credit. They walked him through actually applying for a line of credit, what he needed to do so he would have the available cash. Then they said, we're going to send an agent to the house. They're going to take you to a FedEx, and what we need you to do is to put the cash. So scammers are actually transitioning away from Bitcoin and e-transfers because the banks are freezing the accounts and not allowing the money to go through. So they're actually having them take out cash, legitimately put the cash into an envelope and send it through courier. So when the cab arrived, the gentleman went out and asked him if he was the agent, and the cab driver said, no, this is a scam. I won't take you to the FedEx office. You need to go talk to the police. So that was something that was very helpful, and we do thank that cab driver for taking that time to keep that individual safe.
There's a 4-second delays. Okay, and Global, your turn to ask questions.
Sorry, I just want to follow up on that, Linda. In the press release here, it says that the man was still out $10,000. Can you explain that?
So with that scam that we're seeing, with the 6-year shopping, pardon me, with the 6-year shopping raffle scam, the reason that it was a $10,000 loss is with the intricacies of the scams, one feeds off of the other. So we had a victim here in Edmonton. That victim, then when they sent the money, that money went to somebody who lived in Airdrie. And in turn, when there was another money transfer, it went to someone who lived in Drumheller. So the dollar values lost are a combination of the 3 victims throughout Alberta.
Okay, so he did lose money, just not as much as he would have if the cab driver wouldn't have stopped him.
Right. So the first fee that he paid was the $2,500, and the second ask for money was $6,000. And because the cab driver didn't take him to the FedEx office to put the cash in the envelope and to transfer it via the courier, he saved that money. So he's not out that money, which is a thankful thing.
And can you talk to us about some of the other coronavirus scams that you guys have here?
Yep. So the next one that we see is a police impersonation scam. And we've had the police impersonation scam before. One of the things that we've got the new twist on it is a caller calls, identifies themselves, just to say that that person has been identified through their mobile cellular service, that their phone number has been used to phone Shanghai, China, and what they've done is they've given confidential information or they've lied about information to China in relation to the COVID virus. So therefore they're putting people at risk, and what they need to do is they need to report it to the police so that we can ensure that it is properly dealt with. They're then transferred to another individual. The next caller is someone who identifies themselves as a police officer in China. Then there's the pressure that they have to pay fines for lying, service fees to fix things. And so what ends up happening is it just keeps racking up. And the individual that fell victim to this scam was actually someone here who was on a temporary visa in the country and was actually from China. So it becomes one of those things where if they're sending documents that support it, again, the believability is there because they're familiar with those documents and they're familiar with the way the government works.
And you guys have a few more coronavirus scams?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the delay. The EPCOR impersonation, so with EPCOR, what we're having right now is we have people that are calling stating that they're from EPCOR, and that your services will be cut off if you don't pay your bills, and they need to be paid right away. And again, there's that urgency that they have where you need to pay them right now or you're going to lose service. And especially with the weather that we're having lately, people can't afford to not have the services that they need. So again, there's that urgency to pay the bill. EPCOR is not, they don't want payment, they're not that urgent. If you need to phone, you need to go find that number for EPCOR, phone EPCOR directly, and don't just rely on that phone call. They're not going to cut your services off right away. And if you haven't made payment or you've delayed on your payments, again, check with them to see, but your services are not going to be cut off. Again, scammers look for urgency and they look for something that you need. If they take away your basic needs, they know people are more inclined to give money. And then the other ones that we have here,
Ones who are really interesting, the medical impersonation
yeah, and so we sort of spoke to those last week, but one of the other things that we're seeing with the medical authority, and that's on different levels. So with the medical piece, we have people coming forward to say, again, the door-to-door with the testing kits that they're bringing out. We also have them making phone calls to say, we have your results from your COVID testing. There's a fee that you need to pay before we can give you the results. The other piece that we have is where they have friends or family members who have been tested for COVID, and in order for them to get the results, there has to be a healthcare fee paid as well as a testing fee paid. And so they're asking you to pay these fees on behalf of friends or family members that don't have the money. And the last one that we've seen here in Edmonton came via text messages, was one of the ways that we're finding it's being distributed as well, is where they're giving out free medical supplies. So and so the medical supplies that they're giving out are the face masks, and they're in demand. So it's one of the things where people have an urgency to find the face mask to make sure that they have them to keep their family safe. And so they're offering them for free. Please don't click on the links. They're fraudulent. They're not giving them out for free. If you see something coming from a website, go online, check the website. These sites, the legitimate organizations and health organizations, know that the frauds are out there, and they will have something on their site that typically speaks to the fact that there are frauds out there and people are fraudulently offering free masks.
Has a question too. The delay is a little bit hard to get it in, but my question is about the number of people who have fallen financial victims to these scams. Last week it was just one. Is it still one? What can you tell us about people who have actually fallen victim to these scams?
In the city of Edmonton, currently we have only 3 individuals who have come forward who have been identified as victims of COVID scams. In conjunction with one of the victims, we know that there are 2 others within the province that have fallen victim to it. So within the city proper itself, we only have 3, but we do know connected to one of those, there's an additional 2. So there are 5 that we're currently aware of, and we are working with the police agencies in the other towns in which these individuals live to coordinate the investigation.
Jumping off what you said about people charging a fee for coronavirus health coverage, can you just clarify? Obviously, that would never happen here.
And one thing to be cautious of when you have someone calling you to say that there are outstanding fees that you have to pay to get your test results from a healthcare professional for testing for the coronavirus. One thing to understand is in Alberta, healthcare is free. So you don't have to pay fees to get tested, and you don't have to pay fees for information from your doctor. So be very wary of that if you're getting them. Those fees are not being charged.
Do we have a dollar figure on how much people have lost, those 3 Edmontonians?
Collectively, with all of the Edmontonians that have lost money due to the COVID fraud, the first individual lost $250 for the face masks. The second victim related to the shopping scam lost $2,500. And the other individual in relation to the police impersonation scam lost $15,000. So collectively, just under $20,000.
Here again, hopefully the delay doesn't cut anything off. But I was curious about the immigration frauds. Is there? I know sometimes. Sorry, I'm hearing myself cut you off. But I know sometimes frauds they compound. Has any of the COVID frauds compounded into the immigration fraud? And is this something you guys are concerned about?
We do have the one example with the police impersonation scam. We do know that that individual is an immigrant that is here on a temporary visa. Now, there's nothing to know whether or not the two coincide or overlap. But one thing to remember with the scammers, again, there's that intricacies where they overlap. So we do have a lot of times with some of the immigration scams that have been reported to us, where they haven't asked for money, but what they've done is they said that they've been from an embassy and they've asked for copies of that person's passport to verify and confirm what their country of origin is. So are they legitimately a Canadian citizen, or are they an immigrant, and does their passport perhaps say China, US, or somewhere else? Then what might be happening is those people might be coming back and using copies of those passports to integrate into the COVID scam. We don't know that. So it's one of those things where your information, your personal information, be it passport, driver's license, social insurance number, banking information, you need to keep that secure and safe. Strangers that you don't know on the phone, that you can't identify with and you've never met, please do not give any of that information to them. They don't need it.
Coronavirus to perpetuate their crimes?
When we look at some of the scams that are evolving and some of the changes that are happening with the COVID being included in the scams, one of the things that the scammers are looking at is it's a crime of opportunity. So it's something new, it's something that not everybody is aware of. There's that fear out there or that threat that potentially it could be life-threatening. The whole world is on hold because of the coronavirus. And so I think that the scammers are integrating the coronavirus into their scams as a sense of urgency that appeals to your emotions. It appeals to your need to help other people to prevent them from becoming victims. And that's why they say family and friends are infected. We need you to help them to get the results to make sure that they're healthy and that they're safe. And people are more inclined to maybe offer money or to pay for those different types of scams, where in fact, if it was something that didn't have that threat for their overall health or well-being, they may not give the money.
And you might not have the numbers off the top of your head, but any additional romance scams lately?
We haven't had any romance scams. Sorry. So just this week we were looking at another report. Actually, the report came in relation to a prize scam. So what had happened is a gentleman had gone down to the States, and when he was in the States, he entered a draw, and one of the things related to the draw was he had to show proof of citizenship. So in showing proof of citizenship, he provided his driver's license to show that he was a Canadian citizen with his home address on it. When he got back to Canada, back to Edmonton, he received several phone calls out of Jamaica stating that he had won a prize and they needed his information. The gentleman blocked the numbers and hung up. And then a couple weeks later, he received a letter in the mail. And in that letter was a payment from an individual who lives in Regina, who is actually a romance scam victim. And we're liaising with the Regina police right now just to help alleviate that and to help that victim so that she's not further victimized. And so that's one of the things too, where some of these scams are so intricately woven that she's a victim of a romance scam, lives in a total different province, but is sending money to someone here who is connected through Vegas and Jamaica for a prize scam. So we need to be cognizant if you're getting information or you're getting phone calls or you're receiving letters or mail that have checks in it and you don't know where they're from, or credit cards or debit cards, or information that you've opened up any type of an account, make sure you're bringing that information to us so that we can verify and check it. And they don't even have to live in Edmonton. We will liaise with other police agencies just to confirm, to make sure that there's not a victim on the other end of that.
And sorry if I missed it, can you just explain how the shopping prize scam is related to Corona?
Okay, so when we look at the shopping prize scam, when they first called the victim, he hung up the phone. He had zero interest in the call. And so, again, we do have people who are standing up and they're hanging up when it comes to some of these scams that are coming to them over the phone. When they called back again and they asked for more money, he didn't have the money. They convinced him to go get the line of credit. So when they convinced him to get the line of credit and then the cab driver came, told the gentleman, no, this is a scam, you need to go to the police and report it. When the money didn't get sent through the courier service, he received another phone call. And that phone call said, if you want your car, we need you to get tested to make sure that you don't have the coronavirus before we can send the car to you. And then there was a fine or a fee for that. So I think what's happening is at the end of the scams that they're bringing forward, if people aren't falling victim to them and they're using different dynamics to entice them in through profiling you, that they throw something in, again, that would get you convinced to contribute the money. So I think they're using it for that sense of urgency on the end of the scams.
Thank you. I think that's it from me. This is Sarah with Global. Appreciate your time again.
Thank you.
Anything else from you, Carly? Okay, thank you both for joining. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. Be safe,
Bye.
friends.
You too.